So I think I fixed my audio from yesterday. There was some weird buzzy noise on the mic. I don't know what it was. But going ahead and get into this. This was a retweet that I actually saw from Donald Trump. He retweeted it. It says, "There are riots in socialist France because of radical leftist fuel taxes. Media barely mentioning this. America is booming, Europe is burning. They want to cover up the middle class rebellion against cultural Marxism. We want Trump being chanted through the streets of Paris." And shortly after, obviously political pressure from Donald Trump, the French Prime Minister suspends planned fuel tax increases for 6 months. Says from Reuters, the French government on Tuesday suspended planned increases in three taxes on fuel for a 6-month period starting January 1st in response to nationwide protests against high pump prices and living costs. This anger, you'd have to be deaf or blind not to see it or hear it, Philippe said in an address. The French who have donned yellow vests want taxes to drop and work to pay. That's also what we want. If I don't manage to explain it, if the ruling majority didn't manage to convince the French, then something must change. So, basically they had to do this. Otherwise, there's nothing that, there's no reason Macron could continue to be in office. His building would probably burn if he didn't do this. I mean, it was that serious. From another story from Yahoo that I found today was Iran is threatening to cut off Gulf oil. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani struck a defiant stance against U.S. sanctions on Tuesday, renewing his threat to cut off international oil sales from the Gulf. America should know it is not capable of preventing the export of Iran's oil, Rouhani said at a televised rally in Sebnan province. If it ever tries to do so, no oil will be exported from the Persian Gulf. Since the 1980s, Iran has said repeatedly it would blockade the Gulf in response to international pressure, but has never carried out the threat. Washington has reimposed sanctions, including an oil embargo, since withdrawing from the landmark 2015 nuclear deal between Tehran and major powers in May. Rouhani last threatened to close the Gulf in July when he was warned the U.S. should not play with the lion's tail. Now, Iran, from the article that I had up yesterday, which I wish I would have kept the link to, and actually I should be able to find it on this Tumblr post. Nope. It's not Zero Hedge. Oh God, what was it? I should have had this up before. Here we go. So this was an article that was about Qatar, but here we go. So here's Iran. 3.3 million barrels a day, which is pretty high. It's pretty high. With the U.S. Being number one exporter, that would actually, that would bring the price way up, for sure. So, something to consider moving forward. So Ukraine apparently is seeking NATO support over Russia's standoff, and this goes back to the whole neocon agenda for, having a war with Russia, and it's just been like kind of crazy because they continually push this. I don't know why they do, but they have done it, and they continue to do it, and they haven't backed away from, basically trying to, go to war with Russia. NATO foreign ministers are meeting with Ukrainian counterpart Pavlo Klimkin as the country seeks international backing from its Black Sea standoff with Russia. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the 28 other NATO foreign ministers will offer political support to Ukraine, but will not provide naval escorts or any military assistance beyond what's being done now. Tensions between Russia and Ukraine escalated last week when Russian border guards fired on 3 Ukrainian Navy vessels near the Russian-annexed Crimea Peninsula. The vessels and their crews were captured. Ahead of the 2-day NATO ministerial meetings in Brussels, Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the Allies are already doing a lot in the Black Sea and that now we are closely monitoring the situation. Stoltenberg called Monday for claim and restraint. Russia must release the Ukrainian sailors and ships. Ukraine says traffic has resumed to and from its ports and the Sea of Azov following a standoff with Russia. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, if you want to read this, you can. Basically, Ukraine is trying to put more pressure on Russia, which in my opinion is unnecessary. If anything, you need to back the fuck up, Ukraine, and get the fuck out. Okay? Russia don't play. Especially not now. Because the dynamics of what's happening in the world have changed dramatically. So, as for local news here in the Sacramento Valley, I take you to KCRA3, where I will show you this video, which it kills me every time I see something like this.
A follow-up to a story we first reported last week. Sacramento is now taking action to clear leaves from new protected bike lanes.
KCR3's Mike Tassell joining us now live with the new tool that the city is using. You've become our leaf expert here.
Oh, you've become a leaf expert. Wow. Look, the news channel is fine, okay? You do whatever it is you want to do. It's your news channel. But let me tell you something. When you say shit like that, it makes people not want to watch you. Because I hate even showing this particular portion of the video simply for the fact that you have said something very annoying.
KCRA.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting to see this video. You know, again, what we were talking about are these new parking protected bike lanes. That's where the bike lane is now between the curb and where the cars park out further into the street. Well, the issue was leaves that are now clogging or in some cases disrupting those bike lanes. So take a look. This is what a mini street sweeper looks like. It's designed to fit in the narrow spaces created by these new parking protected bike lanes. Now, over the last several months, city officials told us they've been testing out 4 different types of mini street sweepers. So this is one of the 4 being tested and assessed. We caught up with this one yesterday on J Street as it was being tested out along the curb. Now, here's the thing. At a cost of more than $100,000 each.
Here's the thing. With a cost of over $100,000 each, we can now clean the bike lanes of the street. As far as I'm concerned, that is a bunch of bullshit. Okay? A street sweeper does not cost $100,000. Okay? You know what doesn't cost $100,000? A fucking Corvette. You know what else doesn't cost $100,000? A lot of shit. Okay? You can buy a lot of different kinds of very expensive cars for under $100,000. A street sweeper should not cost $100,000. And this sounds a lot like what was going on in the 50s when people were finally realizing that, you know, the government was buying, you know, military grade hammers at like $600 a pop. Pallets of hammers or toilet seats for $1,000 a piece. And, you know, they were basically like embezzling money through the government. But because the guy, the dumbass who approved it, you know, who's going to stop him? Someone's going to have to intervene, and I don't know who is in charge of that particular thing, but hey, I guess they do whatever they want to do there in government, especially here in California and in the capital where I live, Sacramento. That's ridiculous. $100,000 of my tax money and everybody else's tax money is going to go towards a street sweeper for these dumbass bike lanes that they put in. Okay? That they're probably only going to have to use twice a year, 3 times a year. It's ridiculous.
A city spokeswoman said any purchases or decisions moving forward to actually get these mini street sweepers here to Sacramento is going to have to go through that city council process. So the earliest one of these could actually join the city's claw and other leaf pickup efforts would be February of next year. However, at this point in time, because of the way the testing is going, spokeswoman saying that that is still a loose time frame. So back out here live. In the meantime, city officials reminding cyclists to be cautious when in these parking protected bike lanes when there's leaves on the ground, especially when they're wet, because wet leaves are slippery and wet.
I can't even do it. Wet leaves are slippery, you say. Unbelievable. Alright, on to the next local news article, which is football player suspended from team for running naked with Oreos wedged in buttocks. Okay, first of all, how the fuck? And second of all, why? 10 football players at a northern Illinois high school. So I love how this is under local news, and it's not local news. This is why I can't stand local news. It's because they talk about shit that not only doesn't matter, but they have to go outside of their, area to find something worth talking about. And this isn't even worth talking about. Okay, it's funny, yeah, but I mean, really? 10 football players at a Northern Illinois high school were suspended from the team for 3 games last month after they ran across the field naked with Oreo cookies wedged between their buttocks. The Rockford Register Star reports that the Byron High School players were suspended for indecent exposure, but that school administrators concluded that they went on the Oreo run, quote, Oreo run at the school's football field voluntarily and were not victims of hazing. The paper reported the story after obtaining a letter sent to parents of students who admitted to participating in the run in October. The students were forced to sit out games on November, blah, 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 the last of which was the Class 3A state championship game in which Byron lost 24-20 in Monticello High School. So, why are you reporting this, and why is this in my local news? If I go to local news, it's right here. It's right there. Unless this isn't local news, but it's on the local news page. This I can see being local news. But I don't know who your web person is, but you guys should consider changing this, because this is dumb. So there's that. So you have many street sweepers costing upwards of $100,000 each, and you have a news story ran about a football player suspended from a team for running naked with Oreos wedged in his ass crack. Meanwhile, you have, Qatar leaving OPEC. You have riots in socialist France. You have Donald Trump calling out Macron. You have Macron suspending the fuel tax increases for six months to get their shit together. You have Iran's leader threatening to cut off oil from the world, which would increase oil prices, I'm guessing, a pretty good amount, considering that they are the number 4 or number 5 oil producer in the world. Okay. And you have Ukraine asking NATO to basically go in and try to fuck with Russia, which is unnecessary in my opinion. How can you... how do these people... they have to be government funded. This KCRA 3. It makes no sense. This has to be a state-run website or news channel, and it's on television, right? So I don't know. It just blows me away that they're able to operate. It really doesn't make sense how they're able to afford sending a guy out to talk about, fucking clearing leaves out of the lanes. Don't get me fired up. I hope you guys learned something, and hopefully this video in particular didn't turn your brain into mush. Taxation is theft. I'll see you guys next time.